The time is 6:15. Here's the news edited by Dulmin Samsingha, read by Victor Raj. Let's take a look at the headlines of the local news. The Government Medical Officers Association makes several proposals to control the pandemic. 800 charges leveled against former IGP Pujit Jayasundara and former Defence Secretary Hemasri Fernando. Navy increases the security in Sri Lankan waters to prevent illegal migrants. River conservation zones declared for all rivers in the island with immediate effect. Foreign news. Karnataka COVID patients died due to oxygen shortage. Sports news. Thisara Perera retires from all forms of international cricket. Local news in detail. The Government Medical Officers Association has proposed establishments of accurate data handling at the epidemiology unit, ensure involvement of all consultant community physicians in the epidemiology, allocate consult community physicians to provinces and districts, mobilize necessary manpower to epidemiology. It has suggested increasing the testing capacity to an adequate level while minimizing discrepancies. Establish a mechanism to accurately amalgamate testing data from both public and private sectors, sharing data with GPS mapping to all relevant stakeholders. Establish and implement a strategic plan to expand intermediate hospital and ICU care capacity depending on forecasted projections. The GMOA has asked to strictly implement guidelines, zonal knowledges, zonal lockdowns and restrictions, enhance the social capacity and social capital by accurate, effective and cohesive risk management, make every effort to provide and procure COVID vaccines in adequate quantities with rational administration and home isolation of asymptomatic patients based on the scientific criteria. This has been mentioned in a letter sent yesterday to the President by the GMOA on the present COVID situation in the country. The Attorney General has exhibited in the Colombo High Court 800 charges against former IGP Pujit Jayasundara and former Defence Secretary Hemasri Fernando in respect of those killed and injured in the Easter Sunday attacks. The AG's coordinating officer Nisha Rajayaratne said that they have been charged in two separate trials at bar for murder, attempted murder, serious lapses and grave omissions to prevent the Easter Sunday bombings. Sri Lanka Navy said today that it has increased the security in the Sri Lankan waters to prevent illegal migrants entering the shores of Sri Lanka via sea routes. The Navy has deployed more naval units to patrol the northern and northwestern waters of the island around the clock. Navy said that steps have been taken to deploy more ships and fast attack craft to raise surveillance in the international maritime boundary line as well as inshore patrol craft to patrol the coastal waters of the island. The Navy has also increased foot patrols in the coastal areas and has established coastal observation points in selected locations as well. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Receive early cash advances and an unmatchable bonus at maturity from Sri Lanka Insurance Early Cash.
Continuing with more local news. The Central Environmental Authority has been instructed by the Environment Minister Mahinda Amaravira to designate river conservation zones for all rivers in the island with immediate effect. He has instructed yesterday to take action to remove illegal dwellers who were currently occupying the lands along the river banks. He has instructed to ensure they do not engage in any construction or cultivation activities at least 150 meters from a river and to relocate them. 1,544 water flows have been identified in Nuwara district, 204 in Kandy, 19 in Kurunegala, 210 in Mulragala and 2 in Mathal districts. There are 103 rivers in Sri Lanka, but so far no river conservation zones were demarcated to protect the network. The Governmental Medical Officers Association has appreciated the decision of the President to ban using chemical fertilizer in agriculture. It has said that food safety for the people is a priority concern of them. The GMOA has pointed out that institutes and departments related to food and agriculture focus only on food security but not on food safety. Therefore, there had been multiple issues in the country related to food safety during past decades. It has proposed to introduce laws to make food production and importing companies legally accountable, to provide a profile containing details of the production of food from the inception to the point of selling to the consumer. It has said that laws should be formulated to entrust final decision on food safety with the Ministry of Health. The GMOA has asked to establish a judiciary structure dedicated to food-related issues. The Department of Labour has taken a decision to limit the people visiting the head office as well as the provincial and district labour offices in order to contain the spread of COVID-19 virus. Accordingly, people visiting the head office to claim Employees Provident Fund are informed to make an appointment through the department's official website www.labourdept.gov.lk. The public visiting provincial and district labour offices to claim Employees Provident Fund are requested to get an appointment date and time through contacting the relevant office through the telephone. The telephone numbers and email addresses of these officers can be obtained through the official website of the Department of Labour. The Department of Zoological Gardens said National Zoological Gardens, Pinnavala Elephant Orphanage, Pinnavala Zoological Gardens and Ridhiyakama Safari Park will be closed for public until further notice from tomorrow. They said the decision was taken to avoid gathering of people according to health protective measures. Work from home arrangement implemented in the public sector during the pandemic was not fully successful, the central bank said, due to issues related to ICT infrastructure and literacy. Even though email communication was formulated during the COVID-19 lockdown and the curfew periods, the central bank in its latest annual report highlighted that the efforts did not roll out as expected since most of the jobs in the public sector are less suitable to perform in work from home arrangements. That ends local news.
Finished? You have 1 more hour to write the exam.
Yes, sir. Always early.
Receive early cash advances and an unmatchable bonus at maturity from Sri Lanka Insurance Early Cash.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddhalepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddhalepa, the Veda Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
Another 967 coronavirus-infected persons have recovered from the illness and left the hospitals and treatment centers today. 111,753 corona patients have been recorded from the country so far. 98,209 have recovered from the virus so far. 12,848 are undergoing medical treatment at present. 696 COVID deaths have been reported from the country up to now. That ends main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhaleba.
Moving on to Watchlight, Army Commander General Shavendra Silva said new hotline 1906 has been introduced to inform of delays of taking COVID-19 patients to hospitals. He said a family member or COVID-affected persons can call 1906 to get assistance in case they can't reach their respective MOH or public health inspector. That ends Watchlight. Moving on to world news, let's take a look at the headlines. Karnataka COVID patients died due to oxygen shortage. Australia's threat to jail citizens returning home from India sparks condemnation. Iran Foreign Ministry denies US hostage swap imminent. World news in detail. With more than 300,000 daily cases reported for nearly 2 weeks, now India is battling a ferocious second wave of the coronavirus that has overwhelmed its fragile and underfunded healthcare system. Hospitals have been filled to capacity, medical oxygen supplies have run short, and morgues and crematoriums have been swamped. The eastern state of the Odisha and northern industrial state Haryana became the latest to announce new lockdowns, joining New Delhi, Maharashtra, Karnataka and West Bengal. Australia's threat to jail citizens returning home from India has sparked condemnation, with critics labelling the COVID measures as racist and a breach of human rights. From today, any Australian arriving in the country from India faces fines and up to 5 years in prison. It comes after Canberra banned all flights from the virus hotspots until 15th of May. Prime Minister Scott Morrison has dismissed accusations of racism. Iran's foreign ministry says a state television report on prisoner swap with the United States cannot be confirmed as a political rift widens ahead of the presidential election in June. Foreign Minister spokesman Shahid Khatibzadeh said today that the report could not be confirmed and that the issue of swapping prisoners is being reviewed by both sides. To wrap up the world news, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Karnataka COVID patients died due to oxygen shortage. Australia's threat to jail citizens returning home from India sparks condemnation. Iran Foreign Ministry denies US hostage swap imminent. That ends world news. Moving on to development news. Veteran hotelier Chandra Wickramasinghe called on the industry and government authorities to unite and come up with the national policy to develop tourism. He said Sri Lanka needs to work out a post-COVID-19 tourism policy quickly. This should be with the help of the UN World Trade Organization, World Bank, ADB and other donor agencies. Once a clear national policy on tourism is formalized, the country should amend the act if necessary to suit the new normal trends. That ends development news. Moving on to sports news. Cricket. Sri Lanka all-rounder Thisara Perera today announced his retirement from all forms of international cricket. The 32-year-old said that he has tendered his resignation to Sri Lankan cricket, retiring from all forms of international cricket. A former Sri Lankan captain, Perera made his international debut on 24th December 2009 against India. Perera was also the first Sri Lankan cricketer to take a T20 hat-trick and holds the record for playing most matches and scoring most T20 runs for Sri Lanka. The Indian Premier League match between Kolkata Knight Riders and Royal Challengers Bangalore on Monday has been postponed after 2 KKR players tested positive for COVID-19. Varun Chakravarti and Sandeep Warrior have tested positive, while the rest of the Ian Morgan's KKR team tested negative. The match was scheduled to be played tonight at Ahmedabad. Gymnastics news. An independent inquiry into gymnastics in Australia says it has uncovered a culture of physical, emotional and sexual abuse in this sport. The Australian Human Rights Commission found that bullying and body shaming were prevalent at elite levels. The report highlighted a win at all cost culture that created a risk of harm and abuse. Gymnastics Australia, which commissioned the review last year, called the findings confronting. That ends sports news.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
Expo Lanka Holdings PLC produced its best ever financial performance in the 3 months ended 31st of March 2021, as the logistic company stood well positioned to benefit from the pandemic-induced disruptions to supply chains. Expo Lanka reported revenues of 75.5 billion rupees for the 3 months, up 218% from the same period in 2020. That ends business news.
Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news. Courtesy of
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
Inflation, measured by the Colombo Consumer Price Index for all categories of goods and services, rose by 3.9% during the 12 months to April 2021. The prices of food staples rose by 9%, continuing their growth to near double-digit levels for several months. The increases in average price for all goods and services in April marked a decrease from March 4.1% increase. That ends economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
The Met Department says showers or thundershows will occur in the most parts of the island during the evening or night. Very heavy rainfalls, about 150 mm, can be expected at some places in Sabaragamuwa and central provinces, and heavy rainfalls above 100 mm can be expected at some places in western, southern and northwestern provinces. Thundershowers accompanied by severe lightning are likely to occur in Sabaragamuwa, central, western and north central provinces and in Galle, Mathura and Kurunegala districts. That ends Weather Report.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
To wrap up the evening news on Radio Sri Lanka, let's take a look at the headlines once again. The Government Medical Officers Association makes several proposals to control the pandemic. 800 charges levelled against former IGP Pooja Jayasundara and former Defence Secretary Hemasari Fernando. Navy increases the security in Sri Lankan waters to prevent illegal migrants. River conservation zones declared for all rivers in the island with immediate effect. Foreign news, Karnataka COVID patients died due to oxygen shortage. Sports news, Desara Pereira retires from all forms of international cricket. That ends the evening news broadcast on Radio Sri Lanka.